Alright, so in this tutorial we're going to do, as it says, make a fuel deeper. So first off, I've already cut out the cardboard base, and I've raided my father's woodworking shop for materials, these wooden dowels you see here. They're pretty small, and they'll serve as our fuel tanks. And we have some simple PVA woodworking glue, so let's get started. So first off, you take the little dowels, and you take your lowest row, and you set them up like this. You glue on the little end caps first. And this will keep your barrels from spilling out all over the place. You run a line of glue between the blocks for your barrels to sit on. Alright, and I apologize about my camera, so it only takes very short amounts of time. So you repeat the process, but to add to the realism, you extend it by one barrel on the second row. You add a third row, by simply attaching it just like the way we did with the previous two. So there's a volunteer guardsman to kind of give scale on how big it is already. But we know that all field depots aren't just 7 feet tall, so let's make ours a bit bigger, a bit more imperious, if you'd say. So we have another layer. And let's add just one more, just for the feel of it being a big depot itself. Now at this time I decided that was going to be the maximum height I want, so I had a couple dowels left over. I also had some other scrap pieces of wood, like this little beam, and these little pieces of crown molding that were left over from one of his projects. So, let's use the crown molding as a backing, so we apply a glue line to the back, and we simply slide it in. That way the glue slides up between them, helping hold it all together. Now we have a support on the back, so we'll use this beam as our frontal support. With whatever leftover barrels we have, we can just simply add them in as embellishment, because if it's been recently used, it's not going to have all its little barrels perfectly in its little stacks. Some of them are going to be used. And this one was actually broken earlier, so I run it down the side and just attach it as if it was buried in the ground for a little bit. And painting will help cover up that break. And so there's our volunteer guardsman again for scale. Now I happen to have some half dowels. They're about half the size of the full-size dowel. I knew they wouldn't fit for the actual depot, so I just decided to use them as more embellishment. Maybe smaller drums just kind of resting around the place. Now I realized I'd put so much on the sides that I didn't have add anything on the back, so I might as well put a couple. So then we had this little triangular scrap that I thought would make a great crate if we buried it in the ground. So just glued it on its side. And it looks like a little corner protruding out of the ground. So we have a fuel box as well, and that's just a piece that I had laying around from my bits box, so I decided to just glue it up and attach it just for embellishment. Then for just a little bit of extra added realism, you might as well raid your bits box. I'm raiding Guardsman parts right now since it's Imperial, so I got a little Vox caster, grenade launcher, fuel tank, a little pouch, and some of the grenades that they go on for flamethrowers. So just put it on a piece of cardboard, get it ready to attach. So I just cut off the little bottom tabs of the box caster to make it a bit easier to attach to the floor. Run it bead across the bottom. As I started, I thought, nah, it's not the place for it. Put it over there by the little hip pouch can go where the box caster was. That way, it makes a good reason why the other part is kind of hanging at an angle. Now, obviously, we don't want an arm attached to our old buck base, so I went ahead and just kind of cut it off. However, if you do watch it, I do accidentally cut myself, unfortunately. Right there. Oh no, wait. Somewhere. Oh, yeah, right there. So we carved ourselves a nice little handle to make it look a bit more real. Add a bead down the side. I'll just kind of put it in there. It was resting on the log. It's kind of hard to see, but it's just right in there. Put a little bead right there by the pouch. Just kind of toss the grenades on them. And just kind of attach the fuel pack. So, I like making my parts as sets, so I decided to cut up a kind of second set. So 2 spots on smaller bases. So take more of those half barrels and just kind of round off the edges, the corners a little bit, make it a bit more hilly looking. And again, and these bases are on cardboard, so I didn't have any masonite running around or anything like that, whatever you guys might use. Just use good old cardboard and cut it at an angle to give it a kind of hill look. That way it's not too much raised off the edge. And so it's just got a nice little edge. So then we just kind of made a second little stash, almost. And honestly, I like making terrain sets as groups. That way you don't have an individual little lonely building like a single Eldar webway gate and then nothing Eldar on the table, or you have a single Tyranid digestion pool or something like that, and you just got that, and then you've got like a cityscape or something, because it doesn't look natural. It doesn't look like it's like a base or anything. It just looks like a little piece of something you threw on the table. I know some people like playing like that, but honestly, I like making my table look as if it has some sort of realistic purpose, like, for example, these little fuel stores. And I thought it might be a bit boring just to make the same looking 2 fuel stashes, so I decided to kind of spice this up maybe one up a bit. So that's the 2 little extra stashes. So then you've got your stashes, and you have the main depot, and that's your little fuel depot, essentially. So we've just got our volunteer guardsmen for scale,